Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior to.
With this newest lawsuit, this would probably only expedite or increase the amount of allegations and potential witnesses who could testify against Sean Combs.
The spotlight is shining brighter than ever on the whirlwind scandal surrounding Scene Diddy Combs, and two names are being whispered more and more, Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher. With the shocking revelations piling up against Diddy, people are now questioning just how much these A-list celebrities might have known about his alleged actions. Were they innocent bystanders, or did they turn a blind eye to the darker side of Diddy's notorious lifestyle? And here's the kicker. There's speculation that both were closer to the chaos than they'd like anyone to believe.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right now.
So let's start with Jennifer Lopez, the global superstar with a career spanning decades. From her rise as a dancer on television to becoming a music icon and Hollywood actress, JLo has always been in the public eye. But her relationship with Diddy, a roller coaster of glamour and controversy, has people digging into their shared past like never before. The two began dating in 1999, a time when Diddy's reputation as a flashy, larger-than-life music mogul was at its peak. They were the ultimate power couple, making headlines wherever they went. But behind the glitz and red carpet appearances, their relationship was far from perfect.
We met when we did the the read-through for the movie, the read-through.
The first read-through, yeah.
And when did you realize something was happening here? When did you fall in love?
You keep asking that. I told you,
America
you can't
needs to know
pinpoint it. It was like we became friends first. That is the honest to God truth.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Fast forward to 2023 and resurfaced photos from a party in New York are raising eyebrows. The images, taken in 2000, show Jennifer Lopez and Diddy in what looks like a heated conversation. The tension is palpable. Diddy, dressed casually in a white shirt and cap, leans against a wall, holding a bottle, while Lopez looks visibly upset. The timing of this exchange is what has sparked so much speculation. According to reports, this was the same night Diddy and others were allegedly involved in deeply troubling actions at an after-party. The question is, what was Jennifer Lopez arguing with Diddy about? While no one has provided concrete answers, many are wondering if she had any inkling of what was happening behind the scenes that night. Adding to the intrigue is a resurfaced lawsuit that references the events of that evening. The legal documents describe a troubling atmosphere at the after-party, which was reportedly filled with some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Celebrities like Jennifer Lopez were mentioned as being present, though the lawsuit does not directly accuse her of involvement. Still, her close proximity to Diddy during those hours raises questions. Was she completely unaware of the chaos unfolding around her, or was she simply playing the role of the supportive partner, choosing not to question the environment?
Guys, we are lucky to have Precious Miora here, and she's been at the Diddy parties, and she's about to spill some secrets.
Jennifer's connection to Diddy wasn't just about romance. Their relationship came with its fair share of public drama. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 1999 when Diddy and Lopez were arrested after fleeing a club where shots had been fired. A gun was later found in their car, and Lopez ended up spending hours in police custody before being cleared of any wrongdoing. While she was ultimately released, the incident put a strain on their relationship and marked the beginning of the end for the couple. But even after their breakup in 2001, Jennifer's name has remained tied to Diddy's legacy, for better or worse. What's even more striking is how Jennifer Lopez has responded to the allegations against Diddy today. Complete silence. When approached at a recent event, she ignored all questions about her former partner. This has only fueled speculation. If she had nothing to hide, why not address the situation head-on? Her decision to remain tight-lipped has left fans and critics alike wondering if there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet's The Interview, the series where we get in depth with amazing people, and I'm so honored to have this special guest with us here. Precious Miora, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, my love?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm making sure I center you a little bit more. There we go. So honored to have you here. You have some stories to tell. You've survived the white parties.
Now let's shift gears to Ashton Kutcher, whose friendship with Diddy was, at one point, one of the most unlikely bromances in Hollywood. Ashton, the charming actor, known for his goofy roles in sitcoms and rom-coms, doesn't exactly scream hip-hop mogul's best friend. So how did these two even cross paths? Surprisingly, their relationship began under tense circumstances. Back in the early 2000s, Ashton was at the height of his punked fame. The prank show targeted some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and Diddy was on the list. But before Ashton could pull off his elaborate joke, Diddy reached out to him personally, warning him to back off. The call wasn't your typical polite request. It was more of a veiled threat. Instead of driving a wedge between them, this bizarre interaction marked the start of a peculiar friendship. Over the years, Ashton became a fixture at Diddy's legendary parties, including his famous white-themed events. These gatherings were the stuff of Hollywood legend, attracting celebrities from every corner of the industry. Ashton, who often spoke glowingly about Diddy, was a regular guest. He described these parties as unforgettable experiences, raving about the energy and exclusivity. But here's the thing, Ashton's admiration for Diddy never included details about what happened behind closed doors. In fact, in a 2019 interview, Ashton clammed up when asked about Diddy's parties, saying he had a lot he couldn't tell. That comment, vague as it was, has taken on a whole new meaning in light of recent events. What's even more curious is Ashton's sudden effort to distance himself from Diddy. Despite their years of public friendship, Ashton has been noticeably silent about the allegations. According to sources close to the actor, his wife, Mila Kunis, has outright banned him from having any contact with Diddy. This move makes sense, especially given Ashton's recent controversies. Earlier this year, he faced backlash for publicly supporting a former co-star accused of misconduct. That misstep cost Ashton heavily, and it's no wonder he's now treading carefully.
Everyone keeps saying to me, like, how did you keep, why did you keep going? Why were you there? I'm like, it literally is around me. If I don't stay at home, this is the atmosphere I'm in. Like, I have no choice.
But Ashton's silence hasn't stopped people from questioning his past involvement. Like Jennifer Lopez, Ashton's close proximity to Diddy during some of his most controversial years has people wondering if he saw more than he's letting on. Could he have been a witness to some of the very actions Diddy is now being accused of? And if so, why hasn't he spoken out?
He is very, very dominant. Like, he wants to control the situation. He wants to control his inner circle. He wants to make everyone have a good time and enjoy his parties. And so, it is scary because you think, this person or possibly his social network or the people he's around could make or break your career.
This leads to the bigger question of accountability. Both Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher have built careers on being relatable, down-to-earth celebrities. But their connections to Diddy paint a more complicated picture. Were they complicit in turning a blind eye to his alleged behavior? Or were they simply caught up in the glamorous world he created, unaware of the darker truths? Their silence today isn't doing them any favors. If anything, it's making people scrutinize their past actions, or lack thereof, even more.
If you say the wrong thing, or you complain, or I don't know, there's an element where you're just, I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or when they're constantly asking you, would you like to do drugs? And you're like, well, I don't do drugs. And they're like, well, why don't you do drugs?
As the walls close in on Diddy, the ripple effects are spreading far and wide. The allegations against him aren't just exposing his own actions. They're pulling back the curtain on an entire network of celebrities who were part of his orbit. Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher are just the tip of the iceberg. The deeper you dive into Diddy's world, the more questions arise out who knew what and when. Were they all just innocent bystanders, or was there a culture of silence that allowed this behavior to go unchecked for so long?
I don't know the consequences of what that could have been. So I didn't really talk about it. I should have gone to the police. I should have said something other than to my agent. I'm just thankful that there was somebody there. There was somebody at that party who helped me, because I could have ended up in a really bad situation.
This isn't just a story about one man's downfall. It's a story about the industry as a whole and the complicity of those who stood by and said nothing. And as the investigation unfolds, one thing is clear. The truth has a way of coming out no matter how long it's been buried. The whispers around Diddy's empire are growing louder by the day, and it's becoming harder for anyone associated with him to escape the fallout. While Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher are facing scrutiny for their ties to the embattled music mogul, they're far from the only ones caught up in the storm. The deeper you dig into Diddy's circle, the more cracks begin to show, especially when it comes to the glittering facade of his infamous parties, the ones that seem to be the ultimate status symbol in Hollywood. These gatherings weren't just parties. They were cultural phenomena where reputations were made, secrets were kept, and as it turns out, careers may have been jeopardized.
Allegedly, these events to invite them back to these private mansion parties and hotel parties and God knows what else. But he was utilizing the branded events to be able to, get the girls to come over to his private spaces.
What made these parties so legendary wasn't just their exclusivity, but the sheer scope of the guest list. We're talking about the biggest names in entertainment, from actors to musicians, athletes, and even business moguls. Everyone wanted to be there, and for good reason. Diddy's events weren't just about socializing. They were about being seen, about being part of a world where the rules didn't seem to apply. But as glamorous as they appeared on the surface, the stories coming out now paint a very different picture of what went on behind closed doors. Take, for example, the rumors surrounding the infamous after-hours portion of Diddy's gatherings. For years, insiders have hinted that these parties had two phases: the public-facing extravaganza, where cameras flashed and celebrities mingled, and the private events that followed. According to multiple accounts, once the main crowd left, the doors were shut, and what happened next was strictly for those who were considered in. Many celebrities, including Ashton Kutcher, have made vague references to this secretive side of Diddy's events. Ashton himself once joked that he wasn't even sure what he was looking at during some of these parties, calling them wild and crazy. But the question remains, what exactly was happening during these late-night gatherings?
If they did in fact occur, their argument is more than likely going to be that this activity was consensual, that this person was a willing participant, and not only that, but that these individuals assumed the risk of being present at those parties, of engaging and voluntarily engaging in this conduct and being in those spaces, consuming drugs, consuming and things of that nature.
One of the most talked about aspects of Diddy's parties was the level of control he allegedly maintained over every detail. From the guest list to the supplies in the room, nothing was left to chance. According to recent reports, investigators found an extensive amount of materials during a raid on one of his homes earlier this year. These weren't just party supplies. They were items that raised serious questions about the purpose of these events. The images of over 1,000 bottles of certain oils and other items have sparked widespread speculation about the nature of these gatherings. And while Diddy's team has brushed off these claims as baseless, the sheer volume of these discoveries has left many wondering just what kind of coordination went into planning these events.
You know, it's still pretty early in the proceedings. I think it's only been about a month or a month and a half since he's been arraigned and held in detention. And so the investigations are always going to be a continuous and ongoing process. I'm sure at this point there's been an exchange of discovery. And not only that, but I think there's been a gag order placed on the attorneys with information that they can and cannot share.
Then there's the question of who else might have been involved in organizing or participating in these gatherings. While Diddy remains at the center of the controversy, he certainly didn't throw these events alone. Many of his closest associates, including members of his staff and even other celebrities, are now under scrutiny for their potential roles. It's long been rumored that some of Diddy's high-profile friends helped him maintain the exclusivity and secrecy of these parties. Could these same individuals have turned a blind eye to the darker side of what was happening? Or worse, were they actively involved?
Wait a minute. Say that again. Say that again. Back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood. But one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of.
One name that keeps coming up in these discussions is that of Ashton Kutcher's former co-star and friend, Mila Kunis. While Mila herself has not been directly implicated in any wrongdoing, her connection to Ashton and his close friendship with Diddy has raised eyebrows. Sources close to the couple have suggested that Mila was never comfortable with Ashton's involvement in Diddy's world, which might explain why Ashton has been so quick to distance himself now. But even if Ashton was just a guest at Diddy's parties, his silence today speaks volumes. For someone who built a career on being outspoken and relatable, his refusal to address the allegations against Diddy feels like a glaring omission.
There was probably a lot of hidden cameras as well. Is that what is being talked about?
Yes, this was actually in his Atlanta home, at a home he had in Atlanta at one point. And it does seem that the person isn't like looking into the video, so to me, doesn't seem like that person knows they're being videotaped. It doesn't seem like they're active participant in the videotaping.
And what about the other celebrities who were regulars at these events? Over the years, Diddy's parties have attracted everyone from Leonardo DiCaprio to Beyonce and Jay-Z. While many of these stars have stayed quiet in the wake of the recent allegations, others have been more vocal in their attempts to distance themselves. Ice Cube, for instance, recently made a point of clarifying that he was never part of Diddy's inner circle, saying, "You ain't gotta worry about us on those tapes." Similarly, Damon Dash, who was once photographed at a Diddy-hosted event, insisted that he only attended one party and left early. These statements, while seemingly innocent, highlight just how much pressure celebrities are feeling to separate themselves from Diddy's tarnished legacy. The parallels between Diddy's current situation and that of other disgraced figures in Hollywood are hard to ignore. Much like the fallout from the Epstein scandal, this case is forcing the industry to take a hard look at its own culture of complicity. For years, the entertainment world has operated on a code of silence, where powerful individuals were able to act with impunity as long as they had the right connections. But as more victims come forward and more evidence comes to light, that code is beginning to unravel. And while Diddy may be the one facing charges right now, the implications of this case extend far beyond him.
Stacey Schneider. And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise. And
one of the most troubling aspects of this entire situation is the role of Hollywood as an enabler. Diddy's parties weren't just gatherings. They were institutions. They were where deals were made, alliances were formed, and reputations were cemented. But they were also places where the lines between acceptable and unacceptable behavior were often blurred. For many celebrities, attending these events was a career move as much as it was a social one. To be seen at a Diddy party was to be part of the elite, to have access to a world that most people could only dream of. But at what cost?
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
And while some celebrities are now claiming ignorance, it's hard to believe that no one knew what was happening. The entertainment industry is notoriously tight-knit and rumors travel fast. If even a fraction of the allegations against Diddy are true, it's unlikely that he could have operated without at least some level of awareness from those around him. The real question is, why didn't anyone speak up sooner? Were they afraid of losing their status, their careers, or were they simply too caught up in the glamour to care? As the case against Diddy unfolds, it's becoming clear that this isn't just about one man's actions. It's about an entire culture that allowed those actions to go unchecked. The ripple effects of this scandal are already being felt across the industry, with many celebrities scrambling to protect their reputations. But the truth has a way of coming to light, and as more details emerge, the list of those implicated is only likely to grow.
Some updates in the Diddy $100 million default judgment that we reported on earlier this week.
One of the most surprising developments in this case has been the role of technology in uncovering the truth. According to reports, investigators have recovered a significant amount of digital evidence from Diddy's properties, including footage from his parties. While the contents of these recordings remain under wraps, the mere existence of such evidence has sent shockwaves through Hollywood. If these tapes are as incriminating as some sources suggest, they could have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved. And while Diddy's legal team has dismissed these claims as baseless, the fact that so many celebrities are now distancing themselves speaks volumes. But even as the legal case against Diddy moves forward, the court of public opinion is already weighing in. For many fans, the allegations have been a wake-up call, forcing them to reconsider the image of Diddy as a charismatic mogul and cultural icon. And while some are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, others are calling for accountability, not just from Diddy, but from everyone who enabled his behavior. At the heart of the scandal is a broader conversation about power, privilege, and the responsibility that comes with both. Diddy's rise to fame was built on his ability to connect with people, to create moments that felt larger than life. But as the allegations against him make clear, that same power can also be used to exploit and manipulate. And while Diddy may be the one facing charges, the culture that allowed him to thrive is just as guilty.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
So where does this leave the celebrities who were part of Diddy's world? For Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher, the road ahead is uncertain. While neither has been directly implicated in any wrongdoing, their ties to Diddy have put them under a microscope. And as more details emerge, their silence will only raise more questions. Were they truly unaware of what was happening around them, or were they simply choosing to look the other way? And if they did know, what's that say about their own complicity? But perhaps the most important question is, what happens next? Will Hollywood finally take a hard look at itself and address the culture of silence that has allowed these scandals to fester? Or will it continue to protect its own, sweeping the truth under the rug in the name of preserving its image? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned and stay curious